Good
Welcome
morning.
to, hey, welcome to the Great Resignation Conversation. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I love what you guys are doing.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you.
You know, we're finding there's a lot of people that are really getting ready to make this big, huge jump. And it seems like they need to have some information first. I'm the kind of person that jumps really fast. I don't often think about things. Are you the same way? Are you the
Oh
same
yeah,
way?
jump first. Yeah.
Yeah, and then figure it out later. But
Uh,
Liz and I have been working with a lot of people and are finding that that isn't always the best strategy. And she and I, oh, hang on, I forgot to record this. I,
oh.
one of the things that we have told the people on Facebook is that we're still learning a lot. So we sometimes forget. We sometimes forget how to do certain things.
I'm with you. And it's Monday morning.
That's right. And it's
That's
Monday
true.
morning. So I'm just checking to make sure that we're actually live on Facebook, which we are. Okay, great. So one of the things that Liz and I have figured out, we made the jump with before the Great Resignation was a thing, right?
Yeah.
And we learned a lot along the way. And we also teach this to the women who are in our courses, some of the things that they ought to think about and prepare when they're creating a business or they're creating this new vision for themselves.
Right.
And we're going to spend some time talking today with you, Kim, who is a master at insurance, especially a master of insurance around women. But just to remind folks why we're here and who we are. So I'm Dawn Parks. I'm the CEO of Shimula. And about 15 years ago, I had to file bankruptcy. And I realized I had always had a really great paying job. Somewhere along the line, I didn't learn how to do money for myself. And I learned that a lot of women in their 50s and 60s really didn't have the education financially. So as I was learning on my own what I needed to do to be successful, I learned that there were lots of other women in the same boat. And I started teaching some of my friends. And I met Liz about 2.5 years ago, and she was working on it from another direction. And boom, we decided to create Shimula. So Liz, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely, thanks. So Liz Kitchell, president of Shimula, and I had 25 years in the financial services industry as an advisor, a coach, and a coach of financial advisors, as well as a trainer. And I noticed, that over the years, women would often come to the table and be interested in working and accumulating wealth, but they didn't always stay at the table. They would leave and they would often go research things on their own. And then by researching things on their own, say, oh, I will take action once I feel a little bit more knowledgeable about this information. And it would break my heart that they didn't necessarily come back. So I went out to say, I'm going to go educate the masses, about this process, because they really need this as much as everybody does, right? Everybody needs to be able to have a path to get to wealth. But those same women are now 45 to 65. And they're running out of time and money. And they're like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? So it's so important now. So Kim, we are so fortunate to have you this morning. Would you like to take a minute and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, ladies. And it's so fun, how I intersected with both of you.
Right?
Liz, I believe
I know.
LinkedIn. I think, Liz, we actually met at an Elevate. I went to an Elevate online thing one time, and I'm almost positive you were there. But then Dawn Park showed up at my client appreciation party, and she's the girlfriend of a guy I used to work with. So, so just fun how it all. And then I actually met Liz at a woman's event several weeks ago too. So it's just definitely kismet that I am here today.
Yes.
But yeah, so Kim Beach, and really had a long time background in television, which is how I met Dawn Park's boyfriend. And just at the end of my career, we got bought by somebody who basically was not a very woman-focused company, and I just kind of was at this job, and in my 50s, and I'm like, is this how it's going to end? I don't want it to end like this. So just started thinking about, okay, what can be that next step? I mean, how can I recreate myself? And and I wish you guys were around, because that's when I was leaving. I was like, how am I going to do this? What's it look like? What are my options? But just my husband's in the insurance business. He's a lifelong life insurance guy. And so he's like, why don't you join me in the insurance business? And, we can kind of finish our careers together. And, he wants to
Aw.
be, you know how those real estate agents are like back to back, like, yeah, that's what he wanted. That's what he wanted. So I quit Channel 12, quit my paycheck, quit, it was kind of crazy. But, just kind of I was at that point, and I'm sure a lot of women feel this way. It's just like, no, I don't want it to end this way, and there's got to be some other options out there. And so one thing I would say is, ladies, like, look for those options. Don't be scared. Don't be scared to jump. Get educated before you jump. But life is short, and you want to have joy, and you want to feel like, you're doing what you should be doing, not just what, you think you have to be doing. Anyway, sidebar. So I joined him.
It's a really important sidebar.
The
Kira.
very
Yeah,
important
it is,
one.
yeah.
That's why we're all here doing these things, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I joined him. He actually wholesales life insurance, which is a whole nother weird thing. So he calls on property and casualty agents to help them sell like higher level life insurance plans. And so through that process, he found out that I could open a scratch insurance agency with Erie Insurance, which is a big company out of Erie, Pennsylvania. They're only in 12 states, so a lot of people may not know about them, but they're in Ohio. So just being naive enough to like not even think like, what is this all going to be like? He's like, you should start a PNC, property and casualty agency. And I was like, yes, that sounds like a great idea. So jump, exactly, jump. So in October of 2018, I launched my Village Insurance agency in lovely downtown Marymount. I have a storefront window office, which is really sweet. I've always been a big part of the community, and just, wanted to do something where I could engage with other, people in my community. And obviously everybody needs insurance, so that's kind of a good thing. But just interesting through that whole process. And I think it was maybe my new perspective coming into the business. Again, I had not been in the insurance business, and just, jump. But one of the things that I noticed almost immediately was that women were not comfortable with the insurance buying process. And most of my friends did not handle the insurance, even though maybe they were stay-at-home, wives, they, not working outside the house. Their husbands still did their job and then handled all the insurance business too. And a lot of the financial services probably too. And it just kind of floored me. I was like, why are women so adverse to this? But then I kind of found out, most people are adverse to insurance. Like, I think the insurance industry makes it that way, because then it makes it hard to move. That's why insurance is so sticky. I mean, like, ladies, when's the last time you looked at your insurance and like compared rates and like, know what you have and all that stuff? So I don't know. So I just saw this kind of need, this, out there, that women were not comfortable with the insurance process. Then I started handling the insurance for a lot of single women, like younger single women, widowed women, widowed women, and then divorced women. And I really enjoyed that whole process. I enjoyed that sector of the, of the market. I really felt like I was helping women. I was teaching them. And so I was like, wow, maybe I'll just focus on women with my Village Insurance business. And then, I don't know, the more that it came along, and my son was home from COVID, and he was like, Mom, we started looking around, like, what's out there for women in insurance. And I can tell you, I mean, maybe a little bit, but there are no companies that focus on women. So he's like, Mom, you should just start something. I was like, oh, I have a business already. I don't need to start another business. But I don't know, just finally, it just kind of kept coming back. You know how that is. It just kind of like, just kind of kept bugging me, like, wow, like this is bad. Women should be more, more on top of this, and want to know more, and be served. I really think that's a big thing too. I felt like the women that I talked to didn't feel like they were served very well by a lot of men in the industry. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that, women didn't, felt so negative basically about the whole insurance process. So then we were home watching, we all had COVID, and we were watching movies, and we watched the Michael Keaton movie Founder. And all of a sudden it was like, he basically stole McDonald's from the McDonald brothers, but he had the vision to like, oh, I can, we can sell these hamburgers everywhere. So I kind of had this like light bulb go off, like, wow, if this is a process, if this is a problem for me and I see this problem in Cincinnati, this is a problem everywhere. So then I was like, I'm just going to build this and then share this with female insurance agents everywhere and females everywhere. So that's kind of what got me going on. So I launched it on International Women's Day. And basically the mission of Insure Women is to empower women in the insurance buying process to feel confident, educated, and more importantly, treated with the respect and attention that they deserve. So it's been a process, but I just, continue to move the ball forward. And, kind of like this, I have conversations with female agents all across the country, just sharing what I'm doing. And it's basically a marketing platform and kind of a networking and community of women agents that
nice.
serve, that want to serve, that have a passion to serve female buyers specifically. So And my goal is to kind of create this, and again, in my spare time, I'm doing this. Create a whole, network of women and give them training and education and give them kind of challenges to grow themselves in different ways, to do LinkedIn videos or, to do these Facebook Live kind of things. I mean, these are the things that make a difference, and, and that women maybe sometimes aren't as they're not willing to take chances anyway. So that was a long story about what I do.
No, it's great.
That's great.
Important. It's really important.
Yeah. So I have my agency, serving the kind of Marymount school district community. And then I have Insure Women trying to serve that female population and also help female agents get involved to serve that population.
So you say that there's there's not really a process for women. I heard you say.
Yeah.
So what is a process for women that works? Or tell us a little bit about.
Well,
that,
I mean, again,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm still building it, but I think more than anything, it's being able to they need to be educated. I mean, that's the first thing. I think, when people aren't educated about what they're buying, then they're not comfortable. They feel like they're getting taken. They feel like they're paying too much. And that's kind of what the feeling I got. So I think it's number one, creating agents, whether they be female or male. I know people are always like, are you going to let men be Insure Women? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm going to cross that bridge when I come to it. But really teaching empathy and teaching, I think the financial services business has done a good job of transitioning into helping women. I mean, I feel like there's several companies that focus on women, and obviously women buy differently than men, and women want to be treated differently than men. So I think it's just, creating that empathetic and educational opportunity with women. So, I mean, I do videos. I probably have like 20 videos on my website, about women in life insurance, women in long-term care, just teaching women the basics about this is your home insurance, and these are the different parts of it. This is your auto insurance. So as far as a process, I would say education and empathy.
Yeah.
I don't have my process down, but that's where I'm going.
Kim, it's really interesting. It reminds me, I was invited to this luncheon once, and I won't name the company, but I was invited to this luncheon, and it was a Learn at Lunch for women investors. And I was like, oh, this will be fun, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the things I helped do was build some of that education and training to make it more engaging.
Yes.
Right. So I was like, I went, and I was like, mind you, have worked in the industry for over 25 years. I was bored to tears.
Oh,
it was horrible. It was
Okay.
like, oh, you deserve the numbers, and that's fine.
Yeah.
We deserve the numbers, but we also deserve the stories, and we deserve the other things, because it's not just a numbers game for us. We're so about the value of the money behind it all, or what the insurance provides, not just the numbers.
Yeah.
So I sat there, and
especially
I was like,
you are right. Yeah. Women want the story. They want the why. They want the, don't just give me the numbers. Yeah. That's a really good point. Yes. Yeah.
Well, and you also have, what we have also found is you have to start where they are. So like you and I, Kim, were jumpers. Not everybody's a jumper, and not everybody, right? So like Liz we do a quiz. It's a money archetype quiz. We'll share it with you, because I think it might be a great tool for you to use with some of your folks. And we've been certified in how to use it. But, you know, there are people like nurturers. Liz's number one archetype is a nurturer. So she's always about, she's always thinking about how do you take care of people. And then there's
Yeah.
romantics that have their head in the sand, like it's going to work out. I'm going to spend money and it's all going to work out.
Yeah. That's how people are about insurance for sure. Yeah.
Right?
Like check the box.
Yeah, and it's really people say, oh, you should be fully insured, and but there's 20 different versions of what fully insured
Yes.
is,
Yeah.
and what does it mean to take a risk, and if you're one age, and if you have kids or you don't have kids, and
Right.
it's
Yeah.
really crazy. But you know, one of the things I want to make sure we talk about in the time that we have,
Yeah.
you know, this whole series on the Great Resignation is about having women be thinking about what they need to think about, right?
Right.
When people make a big move, a lot of times they're making the move out of frustration, upset, they're bored, they preferred a hybrid lifestyle, maybe they're getting ready to retire.
Right.
One of the things I'd like to hear from you is like, what should they be? Let's take the case that a woman is making a jump and wants to start her own company.
Okay.
And she's thinking about jumping in January. Like she wants to get through these holiday season. She sees that this is
Right.
the way the holiday went. She liked it during COVID, right? She liked being around all of her people. I'm going to start a new company in January so that next year I can be home with my peeps.
Yes.
What kind of things should they be thinking about with regard to the kind of insurance that you provide, the whole property, casual life kinds of conversations? We'd love to hear. What should they be thinking about now? How do they make the decisions, or by when should they make the decision? They jump or before they jump, or
before.
you take it from here.
Yeah. We'll go with before probably. Well, thanks. Yeah. I'll just kind of start with, okay, let's just say a woman, you know, is in a corporate job, and then all of a sudden she's going to come home and start a consulting business, let's say. First of all, one of the things that she probably has in her corporate job is life insurance, and it may be 1 or 2 times her income, which is probably not enough. Let's just say she has 2 kids too that are 6 and 7. So, you know, if she's making, you know, 100 grand, let's just say maybe she's got $200,000 in life insurance. That is not enough. You know, and obviously this depends on, I mean, there's so many variables, but definitely one of the things you want to look at is your life insurance that you have now, you know, and just go through, I mean, and perhaps they already have a policy, but you want to make sure that you have enough insurance to take care of those kids, to cover the mortgage if something would happen to you. You know, and this is kind of a sidebar, but there's a lot of women who don't work in the homes, and they think, oh, I don't need life insurance. Yes, they do, because if something happens to them, they're gonna have, you know, the father's gonna have to outsource all that, you know, daycare and, you know, everything. So definitely, you know, women that don't work, you know, there's a value, and insurance companies get that. I mean, you don't have to have an income to get insurance. So the woman's going to want to have to think about life insurance and where she stands there. Does she have enough? You know, is she losing? You know, more than likely she's going to lose whatever she has at her company. Some companies do have portable. If they've gone to a voluntary life insurance plan, they have portable life insurance, but probably not. You know. And then as far as having a business in your home, you want to make sure you talk to your agent and say, okay, now I'm running a business in my home. You know, does she have people coming in and out? You know, is her liability increased because of that? So yeah, you definitely want to have a conversation with your property and casualty agent. And then, are you now using your car for business? Well, talk to your agent about that, because your exposure is higher on that now. So you want to make sure, you know, that you take care of that. I mean, most companies have like a business use for your car, you know, like let's say you started a, you know, interior design company and you're delivering furniture. There's so many liabilities that go along with that. You know, so yeah, definitely any change you do, you want to talk to your property and casualty agency. And obviously you also are going to need, let's say you start a consulting, you're going to need what's called a BOP policy. So business operations policy. So, and it's basically liability and maybe, you know, a little bit of property coverage, you know, if you now have, you know, if you have something in your house that you're, you know, inventory or something that you would want covered, because that's, you know, again, just an additional exposure. So yeah, there's lots to think about. I'm not even going to talk about long-term care yet.
Okay. Well, no, I think it'd be good to mention it, but I do want to know,
Yeah.
do you use the term property and casual? I have to say, whenever I have worked with an insurance agent, I've never said, hi, I need some property and casual.
I know, property and
insurance."
casualty insurance. Yeah, no, most of the time
What
it's
does
like,
that really
oh,
mean, that term?
property and casualty is just the overall term for
Mhm.
any personal insurance, or it could be business insurance too, actually. So property and casualty just means it's not like, it's property and casualty is like, if you had a fire on, your dwelling. I mean, I know, isn't that funny? Like, yeah,
So
we
is it,
throw
so it's like your
throw
mortgage,
these
like if you
terms
have a
around all
house,
the,
it's mortgage insurance or renter's insurance plus whatever it might be in term, and then there's the
Right.
business insurance, which is probably.
right,
which is
right. That's
different.
all under property and casualty. Yeah. Just kind of
Okay.
versus life insurance or long-term care insurance. Yeah. So yeah. So just all your personal and business. So I don't know if that's what casualty means. That's funny. I'm going to look that up and to see like what exactly, I mean, obviously we throw these terms
A
around all the
casualty is
time,
like
but
an injury of some sort, I think, but it's.
yeah,
I- you know,
casualty.
I
Yeah.
remember when I was getting my insurance and somebody said, well, if somebody's coming to your house to visit,
Right.
to work with you and they
Mhm.
trip on the front steps because it's icy
Right.
and
Yeah.
they're coming because to see you in your business, that's a casualty related to your business. But if someone's
Yes.
coming to see your daughter and
Yeah.
trips, that's a casualty, but that's a different casualty.
That's a home liability. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but.
I
so-
know.
So it
Lots
should
to
be a
think about.
separate policy. It's a separate policy for business property and casualty
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
versus your renters or your mortgage.
Yes.
Your
Yeah.
home
You would have,
insurance.
yeah, what they call like BOP. That is what I said, business operations policy. So it basically covers your liability and any property that you would have, in your house for your business. Yeah.
And think of this too. Let's say you have a business where you might benefit from being a vendor at events.
Mm,
There's a casualty insurance that's needed for, somebody
Yeah.
trips over your display case, somebody.
yes, I know.
So, right?
Yeah,
There's, like lots
yeah,
of
and
little
what's
things we
what's
don't
sad
always
is
think about.
yeah, what's sad is we live in such a litigious society that
Right.
Mhm.
you just have got to make sure that you're covered because there are crazy people out there.
And what's a little bit of cost to make sure that you're covered?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most policies, let's say for somebody that's starting a business, like $400 to $500 for like maybe $1 million of liability coverage. I mean, so it's not expensive, but you want to make sure that, I mean, $400 or $500 to make sure your business is covered, and obviously I would suggest getting an LLC. So that's, you also have that protection of that LLC. So yeah. Yeah. So as far as, and if you want to like a calculator to figure out how much life insurance you need, there's a website called Life Happens. They have a great calculator there because most people are probably underinsured with their life insurance. I mean, you have to think about, if something happened now, how much income do you need to cover, the people you're responsible for the next 15, 20 years? Do you want your mortgage paid off? Do you want to take care of your kids in college? That these are all the questions that you need to sit down and ask yourself and then figure out, okay, wow, how much do I really need? And then there's the difference between term insurance and universal coverage or universal life insurance. So, term just means you're just buying like 20 or 30 years of coverage, where a universal policy is permanent. You will always have it. You might always pay for it, but
Right.
it will take you to death. So so some people buy term, but then if something happens and you get sick, then you may not be able to cover when you really need it. So
So
lots to think about.
I know you don't handle disability insurance, but can you
Yeah.
tell people a little bit about disability and why that is so important? as
Yeah,
well?
yeah. Because so disability insurance is, let's say you were in an accident and you couldn't function anymore and you couldn't work. Like long-term disability would pay you, a monthly rate to, basically take care of yourself until you can get on Social Security, so so that is super important. And one thing people don't realize is the chance of you having an accident and getting disabled is higher than you dying. So that's definitely something to look into. So, if
Oh, wow.
if you're
Yeah.
if you're going out and starting your own business, long-term disability super, super important. And another thing about life insurance too, a lot of people think like, if I'm not healthy, I can't get life insurance. That is not true. I mean, so it's all comes down to numbers, and there's certainly a lot of companies that will, write life insurance on you, even if you're, even if you have had cancer. I mean, so don't rule yourself out, I guess, from life insurance. And a lot of times people think like if they're pregnant, they can't get life insurance. Yes, you can. And actually sometimes it's harder to get it afterwards because complications could happen during the pregnancy. So
Mm.
it's to
Kim,
think about.
One thing about disability, I'll just add this here. I heard, I've listened to a ton of different wholesalers in my 25 years with everything. But there was two things that always struck me. One is everyone thinks their biggest asset might be their, house,
right,
or their 401k, but it's really their income.
Yes,
It's their income, because
money.
if you make 100,000 a year, let's say for 10 years, that's $1 million.
Right.
Times 2 or 3 decades.
Right.
About
that's so funny.
$million.
My son owns his own company, and we just were talking to him about long-term disability. We're like, you don't think it's something you need, but you need that more than, life insurance.
Or at least think about it in a way of like, what would happen.
Yeah. And it's not that expensive. I mean, individual plans are obviously different than company plans, but yeah.
So it's expensive if you don't have it.
Yes.
Right. It's so expensive if you don't have it. Right. And we like to think about the fact that we're going to be okay, that nothing's going to happen to us. But even when I'll even see things about different celebrities and people who I would think would be extraordinarily wealthy having to have a GoFundMe site to cover their funeral costs. And I'm like,
you don't.
I would have thought you had millions in the bank.
Yeah.
Why do you need a GoFundMe site?
Well, part of the problem might be because they spent all their money on long-term care. So I'll bring that up now.
Okay.
So ladies, like the chance of you needing, having some sort of long-term care health event is like 70%. I mean, the numbers that like the women, the numbers of women versus men and like assisted living, nursing homes is like 80-20. I mean, we live longer, and gosh, now we're going to start living even longer. So just look into long-term care insurance. It's because eventually you're going to have some sort of event and you're going to need it. I mean, just there's policies, like a simple policy could be like, you'll get $3,000 a month for 3 years with like a 3% inflation rider. So like your monthly benefit goes up every year. So, just a simple policy to at least cover some part of that coverage, because otherwise you're eating into your retirement income. I mean, if you think you're going to spend, let's just say $10,000 a month, during retirement, and that's the number that you're kind of using to gauge, when you can retire and all that. Well, if you have a long-term care incident and you need home health care to the tune of $4,000 a month for 3 years or 2 years or 1 year, like how quickly they know now you're spending 14,000, so it's just, it's not that expensive, and there's great new policies too that are asset based. So basically a lot of people didn't like that you spent money on long-term care insurance, and if you didn't use it, you just lost all that money, which is how all insurance is. But now they have what are called asset based long-term care policies, that they're life insurance with a long-term care rider. So if for some reason you don't use it, you get the life insurance benefit back, or your beneficiaries do. So, there are some great new policies where and money's not, I don't want to say this to the money people, but you're not, I mean, unless you got money invested, money is not making that much money if it's just sitting somewhere, dead cash basically. I think, a lot of people have that, and that's the kind of money you want to use for that long-term care, because it's not really doing anything for you, and there's not a lot of opportunity costs right there. So,
right. Oh, Kim, this has been terrific.
Yes.
I cannot believe it's 11:30 already.
We could just talk all day about insurance. Yeah.
Well, we should bring you on again so we can go into depth a little bit more about some of these other concepts.
Yeah.
But
especially long-term care. There's a lot of information out there about long-term care. Yeah. And women. I did a video on it. Go on my website and look.
Okay. And we'll make sure we're going to put all of your information into the chat. So that people can see it. And this will also become part of our blog and part of our
Awesome.
our podcasting. So people will get to see all of your information, but
Yeah.
we'll circle back with you after today to get another date on the calendar to see, where else we want to take this insurance conversation to support women and really
Yeah.
be prepared.
Yeah.
And Liz and I just want to remind everyone that one of the things that we're doing is we have a couple of courses that can really support you. There are so many things to think about. And when you think about having a dream, there's a reason why you haven't jumped yet into this new dream. And a lot of times it's because of money or because of insurance or because of things you just don't know how to do. And for a very reasonable cost, Liz and I have a program where, it's a 4-month, it's 4 months of videos and workbooks, and then 6 months of videos and workbooks, 4 months face-to-face once a week.
Wow.
With a group where you can bounce off your ideas, get new ideas, get coaching from Liz and I and from a group of other women peers who are going through the very same thing. And so we wanted to remind people of that. And that's our Money Master Plan Mastermind program, which I'll put into the chat, which we have a discount now of 25% off. And then we have a free program for veterans. It's
Oh,
a
awesome.
similar program. It doesn't have the face-to-face component, but people can still get the coaching from Liz and I, but it's all do it yourself online at your own pace to really create your vision, figure out what's enough, and start to create your own roadmap, your yellow brick road. And we just wanted people to be aware of that. And it's so important for us, especially, I have a sister who's, retired from the military, and veterans just don't have enough resources out there, especially women, when it comes to creating jobs or companies for themselves. And we really wanted to be able to give that back. So Kim, if you know of any veterans who might be interested in something like that, please let us know. And we'll get all the information.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. But we just wanted to say thank you, Kim, for spending a half an hour of time with us today.
Yes.
And we will be back live tomorrow, everybody, at 11 o'clock Eastern. And
Awesome.
Yeah, so hang on tight, Kim, while I shut everything off.